afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are, be it in Kenya or outside Kenya. I'd like to welcome all of you to the KPDA and Untapped webinar, starting about now. My name is Judy Chepto, the project manager for the Raw Water ATM, or as some would like to call it, the Community Water ATM. We provide financing to entrepreneurs who are interested in owning a water ATM and would like to be funded for the same. We are very keen on ensuring that projects as concerning water are able to function well, are able to be monitored well, and are able to serve both the entrepreneur and the community that it's working for. So today we have partnered with the Kenya Property Developers Association, who are managing the particular sector for property owners, for private developers, for contractors, for financiers in the property segment. And we would like to just discuss more about how we can grow together and how we can help each other in this particular project, and how we can grow each other financially. So to begin with, I'd like to introduce, or rather invite, Elizabeth from KPDA to speak before we can proceed. Thank you.
Hi, Judy. Thanks so much for the opportunity. We thank you so much for putting together this webinar. We're looking forward to a very interactive session and a very informative session. Over to you to take over.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. You are very much welcome. And thank you for representing KPDA on this platform. At this point, I'd like to just make a presentation about who we are and what we do. And after that, I'll invite Marcel from Majimilele to also make a presentation about the technology that we are talking about today. So moving forward. So Untapped is a company that is very focused on ensuring that entrepreneurs in the water sector are financed so that they are able to get their projects up and running. We partner with different entities, and today we particularly want to talk about water technology for property owners. We have partnered with Aqua for All and Maji Milele to lease automated water dispensers to equip water kiosks for water entrepreneurs and kiosk managers. So this could be the water kiosk around your area. It could be a water kiosk that is managed by different organizations. We are happy to partner with you. We are happy to fund you so that you're able to have the smart technology that you need for you to be able to work more efficiently in that particular project. In terms of how the ATM works, you have to connect the water source to the water ATM. The water source has to be the water source in your apartment. It can be the water source in the building that you own. It can be a water source in a construction that you own, and you're able to sell and dispense that water and make money out of it. So how the ATM works is that you connect the water source to the water ATM, you dispense water through the ATM, and you sell water to generate the revenue. Back to how the ATM works, we'll have Marcel speak right after me, describing in detail how the Majimilele, particularly Sastec ATM, operates. We partner with different entities, as I said earlier: property owners, children's homes, schools, business people, tank companies, drilling companies, CBOs, and youth groups. There is no limit here. As long as an entrepreneur in any of this sector is interested in owning a water kiosk, or already owns a water kiosk and is interested in selling that and water and generating additional revenue, we are more than happy to partner with you. Some of the benefits of the water ATM is that water can be accessed 24/7, even without an operator. As most of you already know, the current water kiosks that we have always have to have an operator for it to function. That is the most of the water kiosks that we've seen around in the country and even outside the country. You'd find that without an operator, the ATM is not able to function. Water is not able to, no one is able to access that water. Water becomes a scarcity that is being controlled by one person or two people, depending on who is operating that ATM, or depending on who is operating the kiosk. But with the ATM, you're able to operate it 24/7, and you do not have to worry about a customer coming in and needing water and there is no one to provide that water. Second of all, you find that the payments are made via M-Pesa, which is very uncommon where water kiosks are concerned. You'd find that most water kiosks, the customer has to come and pay money directly, and then the water is dispensed to them. Right now, in the era of COVID, we're really trying to avoid contact, because we already know that contact is one of the ways that COVID is spread. So we are trying to encourage efficiency without necessarily risking our health. And this is a very important aspect as far as that is concerned. Second of all, the water consumption and sales data is recorded in real time. When a purchase is made via M-Pesa, we have a dashboard where that information can be accessed by the owner of the ATM and by any investor in that particular ATM, and also by us as Untapped. So we're able to monitor all the data in terms of water consumption and also in terms of the payments that are being made, which I think is a very, very efficient way of working, because it also helps in addressing the issue of undercutting as far as water kiosks are concerned. I think most of us are familiar with the fact that if you leave an operator to run the kiosks, you can never really monitor how much money has been made from that kiosk unless you are the owner of the kiosk and you're the one managing it yourself. So to address this issue, we want to encourage transparency. We want to encourage being able to actually getting the full value of the water that you're selling from your borehole or from your kiosk. And this is the smartest way to do it, because through this dashboard, you're able to monitor every single drop of water that is going to be sold through that ATM. The other thing is that the non-revenue water is reduced. We have observed that in most water kiosks, there's a lot of water wastage because no one is paying for this water and no one is accounting for this water. And sometimes because it comes from a borehole, there is no sense of loss because, I mean, whether or not it's being used, no one has to pay for it. And that's what we are trying to avoid, because water is a very scarce resource as we speak, and we want to make value out of it for every drop. As I always say, water is life and every drop counts. So non-revenue water is going to be significantly reduced, because once you purchase water through the water ATM and you're dispensing that water through the water ATM, every single drop that comes out from the payment that you've made counts. So with every single drop, there's a deduction in the amount that you have paid for, and therefore no one wants to waste money. And for that reason, there is more sense of responsibility as far as water is concerned. The other thing is that it can easily be deployed to expand coverage to areas with no piped connections. So any area whatsoever in the country that has a water source and water can be sold, this ATM can be used in that area. It does not matter if there is electricity or not, because the water ATM operates with the solar system. So we don't have to worry about accessibility to electricity and such like matters. The other thing is that as an investor in this particular project, let's say if you do not have a kiosk already and you're looking to invest in this kiosk in your property, it can address the issue of providing water to low-income customers who are not able to afford piping to their homes and their households. This is a very smart solution that you're offering them. It's a very genuine solution that you're offering them. And I think it's also a very necessary solution that you're offering the community around you. Specific to property owners, repayment to bank loans. Repayment of bank loans. I think we are all very much aware of the fact that purchase owning a building or owning a construction site is very, very expensive, especially here in Kenya. So you'd find that a lot of property owners seek funding from financiers. It could be a bank, it could be a SACCO, it could be whatever entity that can provide financing for you. And usually it takes a very long period of time to recover that money and to pay back the financer of this loan. So this is also an additional income that you can make for yourself as a property owner. With the ATM, you can generate up to 100,000 shillings per month. And I think this is very good money in terms of trying to pay back your loans and trying to still make value out of the resource that you have in your property. Second of all, this is also a very nice initiative if you're looking to sell water to the tenants in your property. Most tenants right now are paying for the city council water if there's piped water that they're able to access. So instead of this money being channeled towards city council, why not channel this money towards your own account? If you have a borehole in your apartment, you're able to provide piping, or rather fix the piping to the specific houses in your building, and the tenants are able to pay you for that. So you're able to generate an additional income for yourself. Thirdly is additional income generation for the property, which is something that I've already mentioned. You find that with a surplus supply, if you have a surplus water coming from your boreholes or coming from whatever source that you have in your water in your property, that water does not have to sit still. That water does not have to just stand there and not be used. You can sell that water not only to your tenants, but you can also sell this water to the neighboring households. You can sell this water to water bosses in your region and generate additional income for yourself. So I think if there's a statement that I've been emphasizing ever since I began to speak is the importance of generating additional income, having additional revenues for yourself is a very important aspect right now as you're trying to empower ourselves economically. And I think it's something that we really need to look into and invest in more seriously. In terms of how you can qualify as a property owner, if you're a property owner right now, or if you're interested in investing in this kind of project, is number one, if you already have a water kiosk or you're already selling water in your property. Number two, if you're interested in selling water in your property. And number three, if you have the capacity to sell up to 7,000 20-liter jerry cans monthly. In terms of this mathematics, it can be too critical to discuss right now, but I'll be more than happy to discuss with any of you individually to explain further and to break it down further so that it makes sense. So that if you're interested in this particular project, I'm able to just sit down with you and customize a package for you. So this is an example of property here in Kenya, specifically in Nairobi area. We have the Ngong View apartments. You can see on the right, it's actually a very well structured apartment. And on the left rather, so on the right, you're seeing that there is an ongoing borehole drilling that is taking place in that apartment. And they're looking to provide water to the tenants and to the neighboring communities around them. The amount that they stand to make, I'll just speak roughly. Let's say if they're selling to the tenants in that particular building, we are saying, let's say they have 40 households in that building. Consumption per household is around 100 liters. That is per household. And let's say you decide to sell this water. On average, I think a household of 2 people spends around 500 shillings on city council water here in Nairobi. So if let's say you're using 100 liters per day and you're paying 2 shillings for every 20 liters, that means that per household, you'll be getting 10 shillings per day. And then you anticipate to get 300 shillings per month. That means you're giving your tenants a cheaper alternative to water accessibility. And I think that is a very, very strong selling point that you can use. So let's say now for the whole total revenue for the apartments that are in your building, if you have 40 apartments, you're likely to make 400 shillings a day. and 12,000 shillings a month guaranteed on the lower side. because consumption can vary. Consumption can go up to 200 liters per day, depending on how many people are in that household and what the kind of water consumption culture that they have. So as Untapped, in case of this particular scenario, as Untapped, we're going to recover 1 shilling for every 20 liters sold in the financing. So that means that per month, when the total revenue being 12,000, we'll take 50% of it, that is 6,000, and you remain with 6,000. And by the end of the year, you're likely to have made around 72,000 in revenue that you do not really have to put a lot of effort in. This is easy revenue that is coming to you simply because you have a borehole in your property. And this is only for a period of 2 years, because our recovery period is 2 years, that is roughly 24 months. After 24 months, you're able to make the full amount of 12,000 every month. So if you do the math, you're actually making very good money over a very long period of time. And of course, the prices can change and can vary with the economic state of the country. Let's say you decide to supply this water to water bowsers, and you have, we begin here. We're just going to work with the lower side because of time. Let's say you're providing 2 water trucks every day with water from your property. And we are discussing a recovery period for Untapped for 2 years. So the number of jerrycans sold per truck is going to be 500. And total number of jerrycans sold daily is 1,000. Kiosk price per jerrycan is 2 shillings. Daily revenue is 2,000 shillings. Total monthly revenue from that sale, if you're selling to 2 trucks only every day, you're going to get 60,000 shillings per month. So if we recover 0.6 shillings for every 20-liter jerrycan sold, we'll be recovering 18,000. And that means at the end of each month, you'll be making 42,000 by selling water to water bowsers at 2 trucks per day. This is how much money you are likely to make as a property owner that you are not making right now. So you can see the significance and the importance of this particular project. And as I said earlier, this money can go as high as possible depending on how many customers that you have. So let's say on the higher side, you have, this is not even on the higher side, this is like on the average side, because we have interacted with a couple of property owners and others even have 15 trucks that they're selling to per day. But let's say on average, you're selling to 6 trucks per day, then you're likely to take home at the end of every month, 204,000. And that is exclusive of the rent that you're making from that property. So I think now we are actually seeing how much money you are likely to make just by partnering with Untapped and partnering with Maji Milele to have the water ATM in your property. In the case where you decide to supply this water to neighboring households, the math is really the same right there. So let's say you're providing water to 50 households every day, and every household is using 5 jerrycans per day. You're going to make 22,500 shillings per month. So if, let's say, you decide to provide water to your tenants, provide water to water bowsers, provide water to neighboring households, we are looking at, on the lower side, around 150,000 every month in revenue generation. I'd just like for that to sink in, 150,000 every month in revenue generation, and you do not even have to actively participate or actively be there, because this ATM will manage itself. The only thing that you need to do is have access to your dashboard where you're able to see how your money is coming in and how much water you're selling per day, without necessarily having to actively operate this particular ATM. The financial proposal that we usually have is that you make a 50,000 deposit for us to proceed with an installation. This 50,000 usually takes care of the logistics stuff, that is payment to the people, like installations and things like that. So 50,000 is necessary for not just a show of commitment, but also to take care of the logistics that are involved. And then from there, of course, we agree on how much as Untapped we are going to recover at the end of every month per 20-liter jerrycan. It's going to vary. Sometimes it can go as low as 0.1 shillings, depending on how much water you're selling, all the way up to 4 shillings per 20-liter jerrycan, depending on how much water you're selling. So it can, because as I said earlier, we can talk further after this event to discuss how we can customize a package specific for you and to make that worthwhile for you. We'll also discuss for how long. I mentioned earlier that we have a recovery period of around 24 months, that is 2 years, but that is not a fixed recovery period. It can be shorter. We try to keep it at 24 months, the highest, but it can be shorter than that depending on how much water you're selling and how much you're willing for Untapped to recover from this period. After that, the ATM becomes yours. Once you're done with the payment, the ATM becomes fully yours. We hand you over to Majimilele for maintenance purposes, and they get to do servicing for you and give you a warranty for up to 5 years, where they are the ones who will be managing the ATM for you. We have a minimum quote of every kiosk should be able to sell about 7,020 liter jerry cans at the end of every month, but this also can be discussed. There is nothing here that is written on stone. I think as long as there is a very strong business case, we can discuss it and we can customize the package for you. There are a couple of things that we provide you with. That is the equipment. In terms, these are just details that are captured here. There's a tank. There is a lot of the NFC tokens that we discussed. So this can be customized depending on what you're receiving in your property. The services as well are captured here, including the 5 years warranty that I mentioned earlier. The steps upon agreements, that is also captured here, depending on what kind of project that we're getting into with you. And I think that is all for now from my end as the Untapped representative. At this point, I'll invite Marcel from Majimilele to just talk about the technology. And right after that, we'll have a Q&A session where if you have any questions for us, either for Majimilele or for, either for Majimilele or for Untapped, we can address that as well. After the Q&A session, we'll have Penina from Untapped to discuss the other option that we have for purified water, because I know that some property owners that I'm speaking to today might be interested in both purified water and selling the raw water. When I say raw water, it is water that is safe for consumption, but it's not necessarily certified for drinking, right? So that is what Penina addresses in this particular webinar. So at this point, I'd like to invite Marcel. I hope you're here with us.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, first of all, sorry for being a bit late in the call. So I'm not very sure exactly what you already have presented, Judy. I'm in a rural area of Kenya, so my network might not be 100% stable. Good afternoon again, everyone. My name is Marcel. I'm the founder and managing director of Majimilele. We started in 2014 with offering prepaid water meter solutions to the markets. First of all in Kenya, but now we also have business in Uganda and some clients in some other East African countries. Let's say what we want to do with prepaid water meters is to revolutionize the sustainability in water service delivery. When you talk about water supply systems, there are many problems, but maybe the biggest problem everywhere is billing and revenue collection. Well, with prepaid meters, there is no billing. Everything is prepaid. You get a code on your phone, and that one you can key in, just like the KPLC prepaid meters. So for ATMs, for communal water points, again, customers, they prepay, and they do that via paying again to a pay bill number, and then they have a chip coin. I will show you a bit later in this slide. Yeah. You now see the front side of a prepaid water ATM, and in the middle you see a blue chip coin. The chip coin has a chip inside, as the word says. So when a customer pays to a pay bill, then with this blue token, he can get now his credits from the machine, and from the very same machine, he can also now draw water. Let me show you some pictures. What you see here on the left is the same machine that you saw just now in a standpipe model. And you also see a gray casing, a metal casing. Whenever we install with the casing, but the casing is not very common. We do that in Uganda. On top of the standpipe, you can clearly see a small solar panel. And that means that the machine is working 24/7. When it comes to power, it never fails. But in Kenya, an example is in the middle. You can see two taps, but actually around the corner, you see the white line. So it's a very simple kiosk. You maybe 150,000 shillings, sometimes more expensive. If you build such kind of kiosk, it is probably only 50,000 shillings or less. And at your right, that is actually the best option. If you have any existing infrastructure, any existing building, kiosk, whatever, we are always able in a small window to install the machine with the casing on your left side. And then we weld it to maybe the window. Also, the solar panel is welded, and we never have problems, or almost never have problems with people who think, hey, I can steal that solar panel, because they will quickly see it is welded. I cannot steal it. Only I think of the 600 ATMs that we have installed over the last couple, that was in the Nairobi slum and once in Wajir. But that is if there is a lot of social resistance, which can happen in communities. For private water service provider, that's usually never the case. In the next picture, you again see a water kiosk. This is a water kiosk, which is a very interesting one, because this kiosk is providing two qualities of water. On your left, you see two taps. That is water which is not purified. On your right, you see another tap, which is for bottled water. This is a kiosk setup, which we can do in areas where we have a lot of fluoride or we have a lot of salt. 90% of all water is typically used for washing and cleaning, and maybe a little bit of irrigation also. But only 10% is typically used for drinking purposes and cooking. So what we do in this kiosk, we don't purify 100% of the water. We purify only 10% of the water. That means a lower investment cost, because you only need a small purification option. And then we sell at the right side the water at a high price, and water at the left side at a low price. And in this setup, you see something else. You see in the middle, you see a jerrycan. That is a 1-inch tap where people can fetch water at a nice rate. In about 40 seconds, the jerrycan will be filled. But at the left, there is a bigger inch tap, and that tap provides much more water. So at the back of this kiosk, we provide water to water vendors. People who come with donkeys, people who come, the Mikokotoni guys, they come there so they don't mix with people who come from the front. But those are the commercial vendors. They fetch their water very quickly. So different sizes per tap, different qualities per tap, and different prices. And the machine has a SIM card. And because we have a SIM card, we have data. Typically, twice a day, the SIM card sends all the data to the cloud, and that means on your phone or on a computer, wherever you are in the world, you can now check what is going on. What you see right now is just a snapshot. What you see is one water point, which in this case is in Nairobi. We installed it 5.5 years ago. And we can see that they have collected 2.3 million shillings. On your right, the shillings, on your left, the liters. And on your right, you see those bars, and every bar is 1 month. So you can see that 50,000 shillings being collected by this kiosk. This is just a snapshot. There is much more data per day, per person. You can export it to Excel. Any data that you can imagine is there. So this is in a nutshell the prepaid water ATMs that we have been installing successfully in very many rural areas and very many informal settlements in Kenya and abroad. Then about 3 years ago, we also started with individuals, you're all Kenyans, I guess, maybe not Jim, but the prepaid meters, it is just like KPLC power. The client tops up to pay bill, gets a code on his phone, then he keys in the code, and now instead of power, he gets water. It is as simple as that. That meter, of course, you already comes with sales data, but the meter we have been selling over the last 3 years, we call it the semi-smart prepaid meter. What do I mean? It is not fully smart in a sense on a particular day how much water was consumed by which customer. There is now a new generation coming up, and that means that the same individual prepaid meter now comes with a SIM card. And once it has a SIM card, that can be a SIM card which is ready for IoT, Internet of Things, or a normal SIM card. But whenever there is a SIM card, that means you can connect with the meter and the meter will send data. And that means the same prepaid meter that we have been selling for the last couple of years will now become a fully smart water meter. Back to the ATMs. For the ATMs, there are very few competitors. And I dare to say the ATM that we have been selling is maybe especially if you need 2 or 3 taps, always your best option. If you need 1 tap per ATM, then you could consider maybe competitors. But as soon as you want 2 taps or 3 taps, the competitors are definitely much more expensive. And 1 tap, 2 taps, or 3 taps. If you might see customers, you can go for 1 taps. If you have maybe seriously more than 70 customers, maybe up to 150, 200, go for 2 taps. If you expect to serve more than 200 families, go for 3 taps. On the individual prepaid meters and smart meters, there is more competition. We have been testing 5 different brands. We are currently promoting 2 brands, but mostly 1, because if you look at value for money, we think this is probably the best in the market. We keep on scouting for other brands. We might, if one day a better offer, we will also adopt that, because in prepaid water metering solutions. But so, and on the new pictures here, both have a SIM card. On the left is a narrowband IoT meter. On the right is GPRS. They are both available now, and also we have them in ultrasonic. And ultrasonic means the meter accuracy will be extremely good. Actually, to be very honest, these meters, they just comply with the international standards for accuracy and for all the other international standards. But some clients, they want like very high accuracy, or they provide water that is a little bit turbid. And if water is turbid, than the traditional meters. Those are often multi-yet meters. So a turbine is going round and round and round, can be affected by the turbidity. With ultrasonic, that's no longer a problem. In view of time, I would like to stop here and open the floor for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcel. Although we had a bit of hiccups with your presentation, so I would suggest that probably you post it in the chat so that whoever did not capture everything that you're presenting can be able to have access to that information. So right now we open the floor to a Q&A session. I've received a couple of questions from some of you. Number one would be the question on, does the ATM purify hard metals from water? No, it does not. The ATM is specific to dispensing water and not purification of water. So it does not offer that service. But probably when Penina comes in to speak, she can speak about the project that she has, and if at all that particular service that she provides can purify water. The other one that was asked that was from Lorraine. So thank you so much, Lorraine, for that question. So the other question was from Penina. Thank you so much for the question. You asked about how much is fully recovered from Untapped. So for this particular question, I'd like to say that for every ATM, it comes as a different package, depending on what the customer is interested in. So there's some customers that are only interested, let's say, in 2 taps. So the cost for that is different from a customer that is interested in 3 taps. Then there's a customer that is interested, let's say, in 2 taps and another tap for specific to water bosses dispensing. So that also comes at a different cost. So what I'd like to say is that for every particular ATM, it comes at a different cost. There is no standard cost for one particular ATM. And because of that, the amount that we are recovering from every ATM will vary from time to time, but we are keen on sharing these figures with you and discussing these figures with you. So you will have access to the information, you'll have access to the quote from Majimilele, because Majimilele is the one that supplies the ATM and we finance it. So when they share this quote, you have access to the quote, we have access to the quote, and we discuss a financing program that can be suitable for you and also for Untapped. Jim, thank you so much for the question on what is the maintenance and service package. I'll have to share it again as part of my presentation because it was captured here. So for the package that we give you in terms of equipment, it would be 1 ATM with 3 taps. So as I said earlier, the taps can vary in terms of depending on what you're looking to do with this particular ATM. If you're looking to only provide water to the tenants in your building, that will vary. If you're looking to provide water to the households around your community, that's also a different aspect. If you're looking to sell water to water bosses, it's going to be different for every particular interest that a customer has. But the lifespan for this particular ATM is 15 years, so you can see it's serving you for a very long period of time. The other option that we also give is for a 10,000 liter tank, but this varies from customer to customer because not all customers need this tank. So it's not necessarily put in as part of the package. We provide also 150 customer NFC tokens. That is for everyone who is coming to purchase water from that ATM, they can have their own token. We usually say that, and we also provide 2 vendor NFC tokens. This is for the vendor who is managing or whoever is operating that particular ATM. So how these NFC tokens work is that not every customer is going to be a consistent customer. So that means that not every customer should be given a token to handle by themselves. So for these particular customers who will not be given a token, whenever they want to purchase water, they can come and pay directly to the vendor. And the vendor will use the tokens that they have been given by Majimilele and dispense water for this particular customer. The other thing is that the ATM comes with a solar panel so that you never have to worry about paying for electricity for the ATM because it's going to be fully powered by the solar energy that is going to be provided for you. The other one is the services that we offer. The services that are offered is a 5-year warranty from Majimilele in case of any parts that are needed or any repairs that will be needed during that period of time. So this, of course, the ATM now comes with a 5-year warranty. We are also given maintenance during this period in case the system breaks down, in case there are any leakages, in case there is any power cuts. Majimilele is able to attend to you during this period. You also have access to the ATM dashboard for a period of 5 years. With the dashboard, as I said earlier, you're able to see how your water is going to be dispensed, and also you're able to have access to the information on how much money you are making from this particular ATM. We give you M-Pesa integrations for every ATM that we finance. We also provide an M-Pesa pay bill number for your customers to make payments through that particular line. So we provide that option for you. We provide a SIM card because payments have to be paid through a particular line, and a SIM card will be provided during that period of time. We provide transport of all spare parts that will be required. We also provide installation services for this ATM. Those are the maintenance and service packages that we provide during this period. I've seen another question that has been asked.
So related to that, just as a follow-on question, Judy, if you don't mind.
Yes.
So let's say it breaks and there's no water being provided for several days, for a long period of time. Does Untapped or Majimilele reimburse me for lost revenues? How does that work?
Sorry, come again. I think I missed something.
Yeah, so if, for example, the device or the ATM is broken for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks even, and there's no revenue being provided, does Majimilele or Untapped compensate me for lost water or lost time?
So what happens is that we have a maintenance. There's a period to which we will have to attend to that maintenance. At least we want to keep it for up to 2 days. And I think we will have to have an understanding of the fact that it was probably an inevitable kind of breakdown. So I don't think it would be fair for anyone to take responsibility for it per se, because systems can break down. For the Majimilele system, it will hardly ever break down, but if it does, then we'll try to attend to it at a period of 2 days at most. And during this period, I think we'll just have to come to an understanding of the fact that it was a system breakdown, and it's a loss that we'll all have to face, both Majimilele, Untapped, and the customer as well.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for that question. I can see another question from Lucy. I'll just read it out. Is the ATM only available for the kiosk, or it can be used by tenants for domestic use in areas that have challenges with water, e.g. apartments in Zimmerman area? Kiosk, well, as in the ATM serves a kiosk, really. So there is no kiosk without ATM, there is no ATM without kiosk. So if it's installed in a particular apartment or in a particular area, it can serve anyone. It's not limited to a specific person or limited to a specific kiosk. It can serve anyone who is in need of water in that area. You just need to have a reliable water source that is able to supply water on demand. So that is the response that I have to that question. Thanks for that question, Lucy. Are there any questions?
Maybe to add to that, to the question of Lucy. So for tenants who need water for domestic use, we have not the ATMs, but we have the individual prepaid meters, which I think I just presented. And just keep in mind the KPLC prepaid meter, which you probably know. It is exactly the same, but now it is for water instead of for power. And of course, for the customer, it means they are in control of their expenses. If they are short on money, they can top up only a little bit. And once they maybe have paid a salary or whatever, now they can top up a bit more. So for customers, it's usually very consumer friendly, just as for the KPLC prepaid meters. But for you as a potential water service provider, it is of course all about having your money in advance, having never any client that will incur any debt. In case you already have clients with debts, the prepaid meter comes in very handy. Very many water service providers struggle with a problem with clients that have debts, let's say 5,000 shillings, 10,000 shillings. You can disconnect, but that client might disappear forever. You can also say, dear client, I don't want to disconnect you. I'm going to put a prepaid meter, but for every shilling you pay tomorrow, half a shilling goes to recover our debt or your debt, and half a shilling is for your water tomorrow. So you keep the client, you retain the client, and little by little, the debt will disappear. So for tenants, typically individual prepaid meters, just like the KPLC prepaid meter.
Thanks, Marcel. Another question from Stella. Are there any city council charges or fees associated with having the water ATM? No. There are no charges that come with it. The only thing that you, of course, have to do is get a permit, the business permit to sell water, because this is a business, and of course, you'll have to probably pay your taxes. But any other additional costs, no, then there are no other additional costs that come with it. As long as the water is coming from your water source, which is your borehole, then that is your water. You have a right to sell it. So you just need a business permit. But if you're selling the city council water, you might probably need to speak with them about the tariffs that are involved in selling city council water. So thanks, Stella, for the question. You can still send in your questions, but we'll go straight ahead and invite Penina Kimani from Untapped to talk about purified water. From there, we'll have Tom Armstrong from JB Drilling to discuss about boreholes in property and in development. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. I'm just going to share my screen now. So through Untapped and our franchise Ovive, we're able to provide your tenants or residents with the purest drinking water. What we have is a water purification and dispensing unit that we can install in your premise. So what does this mean for you? It means that you get an additional revenue stream from your tenants, and value addition to your tenants. So when tenants are looking for different apartments and looking for what is that I can possibly achieve from and get from my resident, so excuse me, the convenience of getting purified water on site is one of those things. As well as Untapped, we provide you with the asset. The asset involves our cutting edge IoT technology. Because we understand that selling purified water is not your core business, we make this entire process completely seamless and easy for you. The reason that this is something that you should consider for your buildings, whether commercial or residential, is that purified water is hard to come by. A lot of people are selling water, but how are we able to measure the quality of this water? With our system Ovive, we're able to measure exactly the purification. Our purification process is very robust, and we're able to determine exactly the quality of water you're providing your tenants. Another significant problem for a lot of households or offices is the challenge of actually procuring and acquiring this water. So either they have to get it delivered, but now through our system Ovive, you can have it on site, and they can just ask either their house manager to go downstairs and refill the water, or they can ask their office administrator to go and get water. Again, the price is very competitive for them, and this is why they would purchase water from you rather than leaving their apartment or office to go and purchase water from a supermarket or another vendor. What our system does is it has 3 filtration systems, 3 pre-filters, a reverse osmosis system, a post-filter, and then a UV light. And all of this is contained within the back end of our system. This is, as you can see on my screen. I think Lorraine had asked about the heavy metals. So there are operational parameters for what our system can purify, and I'll be able to share all of those parameters with you shortly on the Zoom. And also what our system does is that your tenants can actually procure this water at any time of day. It purifies 250 liters of water an hour. And in order for us to set you up with the entire setup, all we require from you is 100,000 shillings deposit. We then take 3.5 shillings per liter sold. If you're selling your water at 18 shillings per liter, and we take 3.5 shillings per liter, then you have a significant margin. What this 3.5 shillings per liter covers is it provides you with your IoT dashboard that helps you manage your revenues. This is the number of liters sold. This will also help you identify how purified the water is. We also provide you with the dispensing equipment, which is the SUSTIC machine that Marcel had talked about earlier. We also provide you with all the maintenance support. So this is the changing of the filters, any issues that arise, that we're able to provide that support for you. And additionally, and this is usually the greatest hurdle to start any other business, we provide you with a licensing support, and that's KEBS. So what does this mean once you install OVIV in one of your sites? For instance, if you have 60 customers, 60 households in one of your buildings, then you're able to have revenues of 100,000 shillings a month. If you have 225 residents, households in your premise, then you're able to acquire 500,000 shillings per month. And of course, if you're in a commercial property, then this is significantly higher. And you may ask me any questions. I know we're short on time.
Penina, could you tell us a bit about how Untapped confirms the quality of the water? How do we make sure that the water is good quality?
Yes, so through our reverse osmosis system, it actually provides us with all of these metrics on our dashboard. So all of these parameters are measured, such as like the hardness of the water, chlorine levels, magnesium, the turbidity. All of this information is actually shared remotely through our IoT technology.
Right, so I can see water quality metrics in real time.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Penina. In case anyone has any additional questions concerning purified water, please always feel free to add that in the chat, and she'll attend to those questions as we progress. At this point, I'd like to welcome Tom from JB Drilling.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm going to present on what are the benefits of sinking a borehole on property, and how does it tie in with these ATMs. To drill a borehole is creating a fixed asset, and this fixed asset can be reflected in the title deed of a property, and therefore when you're investing in a borehole, you're investing in your title. So it's not just the money that you're paying to the driller to drill the borehole and to the pump supplier to put in the pump, you're also investing in the asset on your title deed. And by drilling a borehole, it's not unusual for the title deed to increase in value by more than the cost of drilling the borehole. This is a point that's often missed, but it's a fact. Now, groundwater is not everywhere, but it's in most places, and it's likely that you'll find groundwater on your property, but it's important to get a very competent hydrogeologist to do the surveying. It's also very much advised that you get a good driller to drill the borehole, because there are a lot of shortcuts taken. Drillers will maybe not use the right specifications of casing or gravel packing and so forth. And it's a fact in Kenya these days that drilling is too cheap. The prices have been driven down by the need to save money, and the drillers are taking shortcuts to enable them to do that. Just bear in mind, if you're investing in borehole drilling, to think about the quality of the work that's going to come out of it. So if you can drill a borehole on your property, you're going to be able to supply water, not only for yourself and your own enterprises, but you can also sell that water with the correct provisions, of course, and licensing and so forth. Some customers will sell the water through a kiosk. So that's open to the public on their property boundary. And that's perfectly a viable way to go. And you can get the return on the investment quite quickly. Otherwise, some communities will, if they're drilling a borehole that a donor has supported, they will initially sell the water from a kiosk. This may be done for some years before the initiative is taken to now supply water to each individual house, which of course is what every householder, everybody in Kenya is aspiring to, and is within our 2030 vision to supply water to every house in Kenya. The economic cost of water is about 100 shillings per cubic meter. That works out, if you break that down, it's been that price for a long time, and it actually, originally when that price was devised, it was applied to the most expensive water in the country, which is around Nakuru, in fact, because from here you're deep pumping, very deep pumping. So we're looking at a price of 2 shillings for 20 litres, which covers a base cost. There are 50 jerry cans in a cubic meter. If the cubic meter economic price is 100 shillings, then the cost economic price is 2 shillings for 20 litres. Now, what do I mean by an economic price? I'm meaning that that's also not only covering the steamer or whatever it is to pump the water, you're also paying for the depreciation on the asset, not that a borehole depreciates very quickly at all if it's done properly. You're paying for the cost of investment in the borehole, you're paying for the rental on the land that the borehole is placed, and so forth. It all wraps up to a nice round figure of 100, although albeit that it's been 100 shillings for some time now. So typically, however, water is sold at 5 shillings for 20 litres. It varies from place to place, and there are places also where it's 1 shilling, 1 litre, 20 shillings for 20 litres. But typically, let's say around it is a typical cost is 5 shillings per 20 litre. If it's the economic cost is 100 shillings, now you have surplus of almost 150% surplus. You have 5 shillings instead of 2 shillings. So what I'm stressing here is that it is possible to, it's a good investment in a borehole, and through water sales, you can certainly get the money back from your investment in putting in the borehole in the first place, let alone in the water kiosk. These meters, we have customers now where we have installed some of these ATMs. We have a customer now that we're installing an ATM for supply to jerry cans, but also to Bowsers, using a booster pump to quick fill the Bowsers. But the ATM can be adapted to all these different purposes. You just need the one ATM, but you are adapting, as we saw with the drinking water, you're also adapting for bulk sales or however it needs to be done. Within a community system that you want to provide the water, you can even provide the water, say, a kilometre away. Having originated from the ATM, it can then be pumped to a more distant point. There's a lot of things that you can do with the ATM, and we and my company, we're enjoying the prospects, and we're working with this technology very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. That was very informative. At this point, it's 4 minutes past 4 p.m. We should be looking to wrap this up. I'll just give room for probably one more question in case there is one more question that is pending that we can address, and then from there we conclude. And for any additional questions that you may have, We are happy to share this presentation with you. We are happy to share our contacts with you, and just know that we are happy to partner with you in terms of growing yourself economically. So just room for one more question, and then close. Okay, so I think we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for everyone who has taken their time to be here with us today. Thank you for everyone who has listened to us, who has asked questions, who has participated silently. And we hope that you've all learned something from this particular webinar. And we also hope that you will keep in touch. Just know that we are available. We are ready to partner with you and finance the projects that are water related as far as we as Untapped are concerned. Thank you so much once again, and have a good evening.